Okay, does anybody have a question that they've been dying to ask some old guy who's dressed up for 32 years of his life? Do you know that is more than half of my life I've been doing that? Wow, isn't it tragic? And I'm still doing it, even more tragic. Yeah, there's a young man over there, so look at that, you've got your own microphone.
Was it hot in the suit?
Was it hot in the suit? Well, I'll say yes and no, because in the desert, everyone says, you must have been incredibly hot in the desert. Sometimes I was so cold, I was shivering, and if you see crew pictures, you'll see that they are wearing parka jackets, they have goggles on, hoods on, and I am standing in that gold costume, made of metal and fiberglass and plastic, and I'm wearing a pair of knickers underneath, and I'm like shaking with cold. And you know that scene? Wait a minute, oh look, what a desolate place this is. I've got to rest before I fall apart. My joints are almost frozen. I was so cold. They had spent 2 hours trying to get R2-D2 to climb this sand hill. And next time you see it, you don't know, but there's the sand there, and I'm coming up like that. Here is a mass of floorboards, and they are hauling, what you can't see is the piano wire attached to R2-D2, and they are hauling it up the slope. And I had stood for 2 hours waiting like this, and they are all in heavy jackets. And what you also don't know is when we come to the top, wait a minute, so R2's there, and I go, wait a minute, where are you going? In fact, in the main shot, which you don't see, we had this R2, and it was so difficult to get it there, we actually had another R2 over here, which is the one I go and kick. And you know I really needed to kick him, because I was so frustrated 2 hours. And don't you come begging me for help, what I told you. But it was that shot where I asked George. In the script it said, 3PO says something, R2 says something, you know, R2 bleeps a reply, blats a response. So being a normal actor, Shakespeare and stuff, where people actually talk to each other. I say hello, you say hello, I'm back. And then I know we did that little transaction. I got it right. What's my next line? With him, with R2, it was, wait a minute, where are you going? Total silence. This was a real shock to me. I hadn't realised that it would be a one-sided conversation. We go a little into it, and I really am beginning to lose it, so I stop and say to the camera, you know, George, do you think you could make a sound when I finished my line? So I know, you know, it's your turn to speak, my turn, etc. Could you make a sound, like a bleep or a beep? Sure. Such enthusiasm. He was worn out. It was almost the first day's filming and he'd had enough. So he agreed and we started going, wait a minute, where are you going? Oh, or beep. From then on I did it totally on my own. And then Ben Burt, 6 months later, put in all the dialogue for R2-D2 and suddenly we are having a conversation.
Wow. And one thing about R2-D2 which you and Kenny worked so phenomenally well together. What was it like when you got the suits off at the end of the day? Did you still have that chemistry, or did you think, oh God, so cold, I can't wait to go home?
Oh, absolutely, couldn't wait to first of all, I would actually bend down like this to get some blood in my knees. But there is a bit of confusion. R2-D2 is normally radio controlled by somebody over by the camera. Right. So in fact, Kenny was hardly ever in there, and it made no difference. It was always me working with an object, so it didn't matter how it was worked. Yeah. But it was either on a wire, or it was static, or sometimes... I will tell you, there's a moment in one of the second bunch of films where we had to put R2's digit in a thing, you know.
Right.
And there is Don Bees, who normally operates R2-D2, and he is lying on the floor at my feet with the back of R2 open, and Don's hand going right inside, and I swear it looked like something of a vet movie. And we all had a bit of a giggle about that. But normally R2 is radio controlled or just static. And it doesn't make any sound, so there is absolutely no I mean, it is absolute. When you make it up, what's the acting term? Improvisation. Yeah. You know, so you've got to convince people that the chair. What do you mean? There's safer, more settlements over there. But that way is much too rocky. And then when you see what Ben Burt did, which is to put all the in. And the clever thing is, the reason you relate to R2-D2 is because he is an object, it is an object. But then Ben Burt put in beeps, electronic whistles and all that kind of thing, but he also put in human whistles. He's put in his baby going. He put in human sounds, and this is a reason that you believe in R2-D2. And when you have nothing but computer pictures and you have nothing but computer objects, it lacks a certain humanity that we all look for. So it's very important to remember that humans are very, very essential.
And you actually got to put your footprints or C-3PO's footprints outside the giant.
That was a terrifying day. It was a hugely hot day. Do you know how complicated it is to put footprints? They've got to dig a hole, then they put in a layer of concrete, then they have to guard it all night because somebody's going to come. And then when you get there, they put in another layer of concrete, and that's the one you're going to go, ugh. And then they have to guard that all night because somebody's going to come in. And it's still there. And every time I'm in Los Angeles, I go to Grauman's Theatre, I look at my footprints there, I probably pick up the odd cigarette end out of them. I stand there, get ignored because people don't recognize me, and I go, but I know one day they'll dig them up, okay? Because Hollywood fame doesn't last.
But it must be a nice thrill, because as an actor, when you first started, you don't expect to end up right there, immortalised, essentially, for the rest of time.
It is very odd. I became an actor because I wanted to become an actor. I didn't want to become rich or famous, or it never occurred to me that this was possible. I just needed to act, and that's what I've done. It's very nice. But you know, in the last year, which was the 30th year of Star Wars, you see, you have to remember, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, if you go to my house, there isn't a single object to do with Star Wars visible in the building. But it was only last year when I met huge numbers of people like yourself that I thought, there really is something in this, isn't there? People like this stuff. Maybe I should, recognise that it's done a pretty good job in society. So I'm very happy to be involved.
And in terms of Star Wars for you, I mean, before you became an actor, your parents actually didn't want you to become one, is that right?
Oh, God. I don't know, this is a difficult one, because people with children, you want your kids to have a really good job and grow up and be clever people, have a successful career. I mean, how terrifying to come back and have your kids say, I want to be an actor. But that's what I did. So I studied law for some years, and then gradually I just had to be an actor, and there I am.
And we are grateful that you are here, and we're grateful that you became the actor.
Does anybody have a question that they would ask? There's a young man in the middle here, so since you're approachable.
Hi, of the original 3 films, how much of the interior shots were filmed at Elstree?
How much of the interior shots were filmed at Elstree? I think practically everything except the big, how would you say, throne room scene at the end, which we shot at Shepperton on a very, very, very hot day. And huge problems, because when you have a lot of crowd artists, they don't always get things right, and there had to be a band of people going down the aisles of soldiers, taking away newspapers, making them take off their watches, their spectacles, anything. And possibly the crowning moment of dimness was when the first assistant, Tony Way, who now is a big producer of Bond movies, he was the first assistant. He told everybody it was George's birthday. Tony told them it was George's birthday. So would they all sing Happy Birthday? Which they did, but they sang Happy Birthday, dear Tony. But, not as dim as when Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, arrives back. In Elstree, in fact, so another interior. And he has just bombed the Death Star. The movie is about to end. He's done this most heroic thing. And he jumps out of his X-Wing, comes down the stairs, and all these extras are rushing past dressed as rebel soldiers. And they all rush past, ignoring him. Because nobody had told them what was happening, or what had just happened, and what they should do. And at the same time, on the first take, I am running from the back of the X-Wing's over there. I'm running towards the camera with Carrie, who gets a little way running like this and started going, whoa, whoa, because her boobs were she wasn't wearing the right underwear, and they were banging around, and they had to strap her down for take 2. But you saw all that in episode 6, didn't you? Yes.